Greetings, blessings, salutations, and love. Once again, welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott here on a wonderful Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, starting out the new year in January. Swinton's birds. In the past, I would have said no because we used to have a VW love bus, a bug bus. My mom and stepdad did when I was a kid. I would have said no. But that thumbnail, man. Oh, excuse me. I could see myself hitting the road in a love bus and going for a journey. And who knows? Who knows what life will bring forth. Today, brothers and sisters, sincerely, thank you. Thank you to all of you who have been stopping in, who may stop in later, or who may check in after the stream. For those who are present and available, interested, I've dropped the link and pinned it to the top of the chat. We'll open the panel again today. The topic I'd like to discuss, with or without others, the topic I want to discuss is relationships. Relationships in life. The reason I'm bringing this up is it's because it's a topic I have mentioned in the past. It's very important to me. The wealth, the fame, the celebrity, in the home, all of that stuff. In my perspective of today, it's less important than the relationships that I know, that I remember, and that I hope to continue and explore relationships in the future. Relationships, life. I keep calling life a lot of things, right? Life is an experience. Life is time, and experience through time. Life is a relationship. Life creates relationships, the opportunity for relationships. It is through life that relationships happen. And it's through the relationships that all sorts of other things happen. Our love begins to grow, we learn, we get inspired. It's through our relationships in life. And life really could be one singular relationship that is within many others, or maybe it's just many relationships are what create our life. But when we think of relationships, it's really easy to think of, family, brother, sister, mother, father, child, whatever. It's really easy to think of those relationships with our employer, relationships with our churches, our community. It's easy to see those relationships. It's easy to take those relationships for granted. See, just like life and relationships, sometimes we don't know what we've got until it's gone. And once things are gone, I don't know. Relationships. There's a couple of really important relationships that in my life I really didn't consider. What is your relationship with you? What is your relationship with yourself? When you're alone and nobody else is around and there's not really a lot of things to do, how well do you treat yourself? How well do you treat yourself alone and with others? But are you any fun to be alone with? What is your relationship with you? And one way to understand your relationship with you is through the habits of your life, the patterns of your day. What are you subjecting or allowing yourself to experience? What are you subjecting yourself to? What are you allowing yourself to do? That will show you the relationship you've got with you. Another way to see the relationship, or a maybe an intertwined, an intimately intertwined relationship that is real important, right? The relationship between you and you is your relationship with you from here and now and the past. What is your relationship with your past? Is it one that you don't know? Is it one that you resent? Is it, are you afraid of your past? What's your relationship with your past? Have you resolved the disputes, the conflicts? Are you at peace with the relationship with your past and you? See, that will help you figure out your relationship with you. Because to be comfortable with you as you today, here, and now, you've got to find, well, first, the relationship with you, with the here and now. What is that relationship like? Are you resentful at the here and now? Are you afraid at the here and now? Should you be? Can you appreciate the here and now? See, that is maybe the key. Let me jump ahead to the solution. The solution of relationships, brothers and sisters, it's appreciation. The key to all things. It's what I'm finding in my own practice. Could be wrong, but it seems to make a lot of sense too, that the key to good things is through appreciation. Because through appreciation, gratitude, it's like an exchange. Offer appreciation, receive gratitude, feelings of grateful. And that feeling, man, that feeling feels good. What did I do last night? That was my hope. I remember going out with that hope. No, I did not. Didn't find any women. I did have an amazing meal last night. I stopped into a place to see if by chance they had any vegan options. And they had a barbecued jackfruit banh mi sandwich. Oh, man. Oh, it was so yummy. um, the jackfruit, it really does have a similar texture to pulled pork, and they had some good seasonings. But that was actually the highlight of my night again, was my relationship with the flavors. But you know what, brothers and sisters, flavors. I, I do love flavors. It's it's mm, the topic is relationships, Jack, not just what you like. Well, the key to a happy life is to have a lot of gratitude. The way to have gratitude is just to have deep appreciation for as many things as you can find. Honestly, it's like a game I've been playing with myself, you know? And it's a game I've imagined it makes sense that the creator would offer us. We have this gift of the day. Every day I awaken, the sun starts rising, and things are happening. Light and everything's revealed, and I'm awake, and I have the awareness and I have the consciousness. So each day there's like this game that I get to discover. I get to live. I get to live again today. Holy cows, man. I can't believe this has been going on so long. But I'm here. I'm still alive. And so then I know the key. the key to feel good is to have gratitude and appreciation. So I'm very grateful for many things. And then I know that every day it's a new opportunity. Today is a new opportunity for me to grow from, to become inspired by, and to maybe change for the things that I learned from yesterday. And so every day is a day for each of us to kind of discover who it is we are becoming. I heard, oh man, I meant to do some research. I heard some trippy stuff last night. I was watching some channel talking about some of the weird human isms, the theories. There was something about the last Thursday ism and the next Thursday. It's an interesting concept. The idea that everything we've learned, and actually here, as I understand, the evolution of this came from just pursuing the concepts, the thoughts, the belief that, you know, like the Bible, some of the interpretations of the Bible, and that the world and all things were created in 6 days, and that happened, roughly 7,000 years ago or something like that. Which is some of the beliefs I'd heard when I was a kid. It didn't make a lot of sense to me that the Bible's saying 7,000 years and dinosaurs and million years, and I didn't get it. I was confused. To the point, this Thursdayism, my fascination. Apparently, there's this belief that everything was created last Thursday. It's just all been sourced and placed and perfectly created for us to live, but it all started last Thursday. Even the memories and everything is false. I could be. And then the other one I heard too is that next Thursdayism, in that similar to last Thursdayism, and maybe everything was created last Thursday and we just woke up, we started animating in this life with these memories. And, but this has all been preparation. This is like what happened, what has been happening, and the memories and what we've been experiencing. It's all in preparation for next Thursday. See, next Thursday is when the real universe starts. It's when the real simulation kicks into gear. So all of the past and all the memories of the past, those were just preparation. Okay. But the game really starts next Thursday. The game of life starts next Thursday. So till then, it's just preparation. And I thought, holy cows, man. What ifs? These what if isms. I mean, there's all sorts of interesting theories about what is and is not true regarding, especially about the past. I mean, thank God for today, for the life we are living. Sometimes I wonder, am I wasting my life? I really do wonder. And then I find you. Bless you, Talcott Express. Blessings to all of you guys, really. Guys and gals, the wonderful people you are. And the mouse, the moose mouse. The mouse. Ah. Where I was taking my thought here is this life we're living in today, right now, brothers and sisters. There's a lot of theories and explanations that are out there and available for us to choose. Believe whatever you want. your life. Um, there was a reason I brought that up. There's a lot of different beliefs in the world, and we really do get to believe whatever it is we choose. But consider this: many times we choose beliefs without actually exploring options other than what we've learned. It's how, actually, this is reminding me, there was a question asked yesterday on the panel with Angeline. I think she brought it up. The question is, there was a method used by the controllers to get everybody to where we are today. So there were methods used to propagate the fear that's been used to spread confusion and hate, division. So the question was asked, what's the solution? And the solution is love. And doggone it, Jack, I'm still developing my mind. Please forgive and understand. In the regards of doing this, free flowing with talk and with thoughts. Admittedly, sometimes I'll start off with a focused path, and then I lead myself astray and I forget where I was going. And it's not senility. It's not. It's trying to, well, it's trying to do too many things, to be honest. Here's another example, brothers and sisters, of how our human mind creates complication. We overcomplicate our lives. As I'm sitting here speaking, there's many different thoughts popping into my awareness regarding my patterns of speech, regarding, are the words accurate? Number one, how's it coming across? Is this making sense? Am I being truthful? Am I putting people to sleep? Is this even making sense? And the reality is, I know exactly what is within me, the peace that I know, that I'm offering, I'm trying to share. I know what is within me. I believe I know. And I believe that if I just relax and allow the topics to flow, the words to flow, that I trust the universe is working beyond me. We can be clumsy. It's okay. We can be imperfect. It's all right. Sometimes we can even say things that don't make sense, but it will. This world we are living in is so stinking perfect. That's what I've come to realize. Can you humble yourself to that possibility? Can you? Hey, Nemesis, thank you, brother. I've I have been frustrated by people who don't want to listen, and I know I'm not alone, right? There's many who join the panel who have had that frustration as well. And Nemesis, I'm grateful that you received some of what I've been sharing. This is God's wisdom. Wisdom comes from God. That which is good comes from God. God is the good. And there is a good within all. The all is good. What we find as not good, I don't want to say not good is not real, because there is evil. There is evil that has been, and I believe is, evil forces are influencing many of the people of power and influence in our free world today. Okay, I'm speaking to you, whoever you are. I love you. I love you guys sincerely. Hey, thank you, Austin. And Uncle Fatty, Thursday isn't, Tuesday isn't, Wednesday. Birds aren't real. Yep. Known as Omphalos. An unfalsifiable hypothesis. Yes. Yes. Uncle Fatty, thank you. Here's the point I want to get to. I love all of you, but there's more that can happen. There's more that we can do. And I'm not saying it's your burden, my burden. This is not a burden. This is an opportunity. There's opportunities in this world, right? There's a lot of people suffering. Everywhere there's a problem, there's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for change. Change, there's an opportunity for solutions. Change is the metric to go between problem and solution, right? I don't know. Maybe I didn't speak that accurately, but it makes sense to me. We need change. There are opportunities for change in this world. What do we want to change? Well, we identify the problems. What is a problem? Well, the problem would be unnecessary human or suffering. It would be unnecessary or preventable suffering. So if the world has unnecessary and preventable suffering, that is a problem. I believe there's a lot of that. Gaza, Ukraine, Yemen, all over. Hmm. So where there are all of these areas, not just the violence, but the famine, the food insecurity, the true poverty that is being experienced by many people alive right here and now today, with us, but not with us, right? There's a whole world that's with us, but not with us. And it's really easy to forget about the others and just focus on whatever is right here. But what I'm offering is hope, okay? And I'm suggesting that we who are safe, we who are comfortable, we who are healthy, we have the opportunity to share hope, to share light, right? To bring some hope, to bring help to those in need, to help it. I think we're here to do God's work, to help end the suffering here on earth, to bring the power of truth to those who are afraid, those who are feeling insecure and weak. They can be empowered with knowledge, with education, with the sharing of solutions. And we can bring healing. Healing can come forth through this world, through love. The love that is available through us all. That love is available to be shared with all. At least any who might happen to come into our life, right? We can't necessarily help those directly who we don't know. But see, all of this help, all of this love, bringing the truth, trying to help end suffering, all of that comes down to relationships. And where I started with this, what is your relationship with you? What is your relationship with the past? And then once you understand your rate, once you can get a healthy relationship with you, with your past, with who you are and how you are today, when you can come to peace and wholeness from there, um, hmm, that's where the true relationship with God is known as well. Because our relationship with God is tied to our relationship with all things. Okay? That's something else I've realized. God is in all things, whether you like them or not. There's a source and spark of God within that being, that thing. This is God's game we're playing. And there's nothing better, man. Seriously, but think about it. Think of the benefits you can gain for yourself, knowing that your mind is here to serve the will of the Creator. Your mind is your body is here for the Creator to use. That you know that the Creator is with you, and you are here to capture life, nurture life, create and improve the life that's around. We are here, brothers and sisters. We're each on our own paths. Our paths are revealed to us each day. And each moment is a new moment. I mean, each day, each moment is a chance for us to do whatever we want. We can continue the burdens, the patterns of the past, and continue fighting to be who we were. or we can fill ourselves with the love and with the gratitude, the appreciation of life, feeling the strength of life and the love of all that life has to offer, and using our love to carry us forward. We're here to grow and discover what we can become. And I've got to yield. We got our first guest to the panel, a dear friend and sister, the beautiful Miss Angeline.
Hi, Jack. This is awesome because it's continuing my thought from yesterday about we have relationship through love, but we can't have love without understanding. Understanding builds grace, and grace is what provides, and understanding is what provides actual connection. But then taking the next step, we can't have that love and grace for others until we have it for ourselves. We have to understand and learn about and have grace for ourselves to truly love ourselves. But then to take it a step further, we can't have that love and grace for ourselves without having an experience with Source and discovering how loved we are. So when we have that experience with Source and find out how loved we are despite all of our imperfections, hi. Um, when we have that experience with Source and discover how loved we are despite all of our imperfections, we learn how to love and understand ourselves. That opens a doorway, and the more we love and understand ourselves, the easier it is to love others.
Amen, sister.
Absolutely. Hey, you said a lot there. I want to break that down, because you said a lot, and it is precisely important. These relationships. Where do we start?
Well,
Go ahead.
to break it down, like the step one is we're growing up. We grow up in a lot of programming and a lot of condemnation and misunderstanding on ourselves. So we become our greatest judges. we become our greatest condemners, we become our most negative voices. And um, having an experience that transcends that, that shows us we're still loved despite, is what opens the pathway for us to heal. Because as long as we think something negative about ourselves, that pathway is closed. And how do we heal? So that's why I think discovering how much we're loved first is the first step to loving and learning about ourselves. And that has to happen before we can love others, because whatever we judge others in, we also have ourselves in our own prison of, in our own box, right? It's our own limitation. Whatever we judge about others is also our limitation. Don't mind my voice. I'm kind of sick, so I've got a yucky voice today.
Um, yes. I'm sorry. That comment distracted me from what you said. I was thinking of too many people. Loving the self. That's where you were at. That's the number one key, right?
Yeah, but having that experience with Source and finding out how much we're loved
Thank you.
can
Thank
get us
you.
past the blocks of not being able to love ourselves.
Angeline, thank you. I really was listening. I'm sorry there. My mind
It's all
just
good. I can't look at comments either. I'm a very bad multitasker.
um love. Believing we're loved, realizing and allowing that relationship with the source of all creation, that personal relationship with you, with me. That relationship, when I started wondering, really spending time, and I chose to take the path of trusting. I chose to trust a lot of the scriptures about love and mercy and forgiveness and all. I chose to trust in the good things, to be honest. And then I started wondering, how much could the creator, the ultimate expression of love, love without condition, just the full being and presence, its glory of being is what creates. How might it feel to be loved by that? Hmm. Tell me. Go ahead.
I can't love you without grace, and I can't have grace without having an experience of grace for myself. And often we can't surrender to allowing things to be and still love without that experience of knowing we're loved when we couldn't even understand ourselves, when there was things we couldn't see about ourselves that had to be revealed to us so that that grace could be there for us. Like, I have to have grace for myself by like knowing Source loves me and being like, okay, but these are all the things I condemn myself in. These are all the places I'm imperfect and broken and that I don't like. And you still love me, and you still say I'm okay, and you still say I'm perfect despite being imperfect, and that I'm okay right where I'm at. and and that's mind-boggling, but it's the start of being like, okay, if this Source, this love loves me, then I better start examining, why don't I love myself and have that same grace for myself. When you can really get to that point, you can learn to be open to all the different experiences that people are having, and knowing that Source loves them too, and there's things that we're not going to understand, but it doesn't mean that they're not perfect. And um and that Source has them, and the most important experience they can have is finding out how loved they are, so that they can open to their own transformation and self love, but also that understanding and grace and love for the human race that is all going through the same experience, right?
Yep. Without it being clearly said, what you're describing, that exposure to love and the trust of the other human beings, without it being clearly said, that's the underlying process in the 12 steps of recovery. That path was what turned my mind, got me thinking again, opened my mind again to the more spiritual aspects, the recognition of love, trust, forgiveness. This word grace, Angeline, you brought it up as though it's common. Like everyone knows what grace is. I never thought about grace. I didn't know what grace meant. Grace was something for God, not for man. Right? I 2023, that is, I grew in faith and grace in 2023.
Especially on these panels.
That's what helped me. Honestly, that is exactly what helped me grow in my grace and my faith. They were things that I mean, faith was something I'd been trying to figure out consciously. And I'd been practicing surrender and patience. Patience has been a lesson I've been learning for a long time now, it seems. And isn't that funny though? Patience is a lifelong lesson.
And then there's the part of, did you grow in grace and understanding for yourself in that patience? Did you learn to understand yourself and have grace for yourself and where that was coming from, and that where you were is okay, like, wherever we are on our path?
That's what that's been the more recent lesson, is in even deeper, a deepening in the understanding of grace and that acceptance. Those two things go together, grace and acceptance. And this world, part of life, I mean, it's kind of a paradox. I guess it's where we've got to find the balance. To grow is to never accept. To grow is to change. That means you deny acceptance. That means you're continuing to press forward. But what this world works with all of the mind tricks that have been used with the fear and the divisions and the hate and all of that. It's oh my goodness, Jack. Oh, we've been convinced to accept. Sorry, I'm totally twisting, making this more confusing than I should have. Acceptance. People are in denial. The denial creates this anxiety and resistance in life. An unnecessary tension happens in our bodies when our minds are in denial, when we've not accepted that which is. And that includes people being stupid, people being mean, people being cruel. We got to accept. Sometimes they show themselves that way.
And love ourselves at the same time, right? Because we're also human.
Thank you.
Yeah. Fear is the root of all sin. And like, we can say, oh, hate and anger and all this kind of stuff, but everything we do that it would be considered sinful or evil, which is something harmful to other humans, is birthed out of fear. Even something like, let's say rape or stealing or whatever, is like a fear that you won't have that, a fear that that's the only way to get it, a fear of lack. The root of everything goes back to fear. And we often fear our own selves and our own inadequacy. And we go even further into the root. We're taught, we're like, grow up, being taught to fear God, that God is something to fear. And it blocks so much of what we allow in of love and grace to transform us so that we can transcend that fear and just be over always worrying all the time. We can be, whether that's leaving a situation or being able to stay in a situation and not have it bother you or whatever. We're more free to just be and not feel condemned, whether we're walking away from something or staying or putting up with or not putting up with or whatever. We can just be, and when we don't have that fear there, um it just things flow a lot smoother. We don't have that block there to the energy flowing through our vessel.
That's what I've learned. Removing the energies from the vessel that restrict love, that restrict the good. I've heard it said elsewhere, and I'm trying to improve in my own explanations of what I understand, but the creator, the source, the energy, the force of life that is with us, that's there's a goodness that's within us and around us. If we accept it, if we consciously believe it, ah, if we bring into our awareness the good, and it's hard to get to the good in our awareness when our minds have these patterns of fear and survival and all of this baggage that's been taught and ingrained from the past. And I think I don't know if it was you or someone in the chat, someone said something that reminded me, we're here to heal I think it was this. We're not responsible for the programming we receive as children. As adults, we're expected to acknowledge it, understand it, accept it, and change what we must for a better life, for those behind us. I think we're here at a special time all around the world, this special time of humanity where there is a shift. There is an opportunity for us, I believe. We're here to heal ourselves from past karma. We're here to help heal the generations of trauma, the generational patterns of oppression or whatever. We are here to break the patterns. We are here to interrupt the darkness. We're here to bring light into the world. And at first it seems scary. At first, it feels scary to stop judging and creating up these walls and defenses. And then it feels real scary to forgive people who have hurt you. And even more scary to love people who have hurt you. But from a safe distance and simply within the powers of your mind and your consciousness and your spirit, we can heal ourselves in so many different ways, and we are here to help heal each other, because when we are the pure light of love, when we are just honest, authentically being caring and truthful, we are the living truth that God is moving. It's when we choose, our ego, I don't believe you, I don't reject that, I'm not gonna say, whatever, everyone's excuses. It's when the ego takes over, the primitive, beastly man or woman. Those primitive beasts are arrogant and afraid. But when we're honest, when we are at peace Humans are, when we are together and, in genuinely authentic, the love that we feel, like, here you go. When we get lost in time, particularly in fun with family, friends, get playing a game, a sport, whatever, when you're lost in that spirit of fun and play, that's love. That's love moving us.
It's what we were meant for.
Yes.
And some, like first we have to remove our fears around God and all the blocks and the things that have been put in our mind so that that relationship can flow without fear, and realize that God is without fear and judgment comes from fear. So there is not that. And then we have to ask, if we take time to ask God or source, whatever you refer to call it, ask, how do you see me, source? I want to see me through your eyes. Can you show me these parts of me through your eyes? How do you see me? And once you have that, you can begin to live life asking Source to show you life through his eyes. And you can look at a person, I can look at you, I can look at whoever and say, show me that Source part of them. Show me how you see them through your eyes so that I can interact with that God part of them and bring that best part of them out. And we can interact on that vibrational level, bringing solutions from source, because everything else is external. Everything else is, it's getting to that underneath part, and at the core of every single one of us, we're in alignment at the deepest level when you remove the fears and the blocks and the fighting. And that's where we have to start to meet each other and start to grow something new, right?
Absolutely. I think it's easier than we may believe as well. I haven't I haven't had the opportunities to experiment or test some of my theories. I've got a lot of ideas well, regarding how our minds and spirits and maybe God work together. What I, what you reminded me, I had a conversation earlier or recently along the lines of, how the truth can be presented and just so rejected. People react so illogically sometimes. The healing comes through our oh where we can come together when we can understand, right? It's simply a matter of willingness and the desire, I guess, willingness and the intention. Because if people come together, we can unify. All right, space and time. There we go. We're here and now as two beings, you know, sharing consciousness of this experience together. We had different times in the past, made us have different perspectives of today, but in the here and now, with our different perspectives, we can unite and we can get a clearer vision of the future. And the future can be addressing, I, you know, if we're dealing with past disagreements, this is a way of bringing resolve, but it requires willingness, it requires the ability to be present together.
Being in the here and now is also a discipline of not being in fear, because fear often exists in the future or the past, right?
Yep.
So it's like the blank canvas to start something new. um you can be aware of things, but what can I see right here, right in the here and now? What is true right in the here and now, over bringing in all the past and the future fears, right?
That's exactly it. I don't know if you caught, that's what I was trying to kind of get across in the monologue about relationships, having a good, healthy relationship with ourself in the here and now, and a healthy relationship with ourself and all of the pasts that we carry within us. Um, those relationships, I think, help unify our relationship with God, with the Creator. In other words, I see a lot of people who claim love and faith with God, yet they are complaining and resentful about past memories or situations of today. And it creates a contradiction that's within us.
Mm. And it depends on the reasoning of it too, right? Are those things being brought out of fear or out of a readiness to face some of our own stuck places because we want to move further, right?
Yeah. Um yeah, we move out of fear or love. Because when we're absent of desire, we're usually still, right? I mean, and that's kind of the theory. The theory I have is the practice of meditation allows me to free myself of desire, and I have no, without desire, it's easier to sit and be silent and just listen, just receive. Why did I start that? I did
Um,
have an edible earlier. Maybe that is affecting my mind.
good to know. Um, I think one thing that helped me have a lot of grace too is just realizing that everything is energy and that we're all releasing energy in different ways. So when someone's like freaking out or expressing something or crying or whatever, to not like condemn it, but if we could just see it in a new way and be like, wow, this is the avenue that this person is using to release that stuck energy, to let that energy out so that they can move past it. Right. And sometimes that helps us have more grace to just hold space without taking anything personally. And it's amazing how sometimes someone can just vent and then they're done and then they're like, now what? Because you're like, hey, now we're here, now you're here, you got that fear, you got that stuck energy, that block out, and now we're here. So now that I held space for that energy to be released, how can we now talk from this place that you're more ready for because you allowed that energy to go, right? And then often new things can build from there. And we see it time and time again when people get on panels or anything and they're all heated and blah, blah, blah. And then it turns into like a really nice conversation after, right? So it's really part of not fearing is also not fearing uh, all the energy that we have and the emotions that we have. Like, we can't think, oh, being sad is negative, you shouldn't be sad, or being mad is negative, you shouldn't be, like, to fear those things when you truly don't have fear. um as long as you're not hurting anyone else, not fearing your own emotions, like, if I'm sad, if I can just cry without attaching a bunch of things to it and flinging shit everywhere at everybody that I'm mad at and whatever, if I can just allow my emotions to release without condemning them, then it allows me to move forward. Because we can also be in toxic positivity where we're like, we just have to be happy all the time, but that is based out of fear also. We do that out of fear. We're so afraid of negativity that we're going to attract something bad. But if you can just allow it to be the energy that it is and let it flow and then come back from that, that's learning to love yourself also and have grace for yourself, right?
Yes. Loving ourselves even with the emotions, and even loving the emotions. Although it's really easy to fall in love with anger, fall in love with fear or with hate, whatever. It's It's easy to fall in love with those emotions, but I chose, I think what you were talking about. I chose to fall in love with myself. And if I'm going to fall in love with myself, well, that means I've got to accept me for how I feel, right? I got to care about how I feel. And what I've learned intellectually is those emotions are very important. When we deny our emotions, we try to stifle them and ignore them, pretend that those feelings aren't there, we will lose our mind and we will become very reactive. You may know the type, the people who just, they seem okay, they'll just let things slide and then eventually just blow up and all sorts of stuff comes out. It's it's the world we're born into, you know. What I came to realize for myself, anger caused me a lot of problems. Anger was an issue for me in all my life. I overcame the violence, but the anger was always there. And then I became afraid of my anger because I didn't understand my anger. I'd been denying it.
And sometimes when we're afraid of an emotion, it actually makes it worse.
Yep.
It becomes,
Yep.
and that's what people don't understand. Like sometimes when you hear someone say, "Oh, just like uh have grace and accept these things," it sounds counterintuitive, but the truth is when we're denying and fighting and condemning and we become afraid of them, it actually gives them energy and power, and it gives us less control. A really big tool to learn is to just allow that energy to flow without attaching to it. So it's like I'm like sad for sadness, for an example, it's like, "Hey, I'm feeling sad." If we fear sadness, we're gonna try and explain the sadness in our minds. Our mind is gonna try and tell us why we're sad and who did it to us and what's wrong in our life, and it's we're gonna go nuts and build up the momentum on this sadness. Where if you can learn to be like, "Wow, I'm just feeling sad right now," and you can sit with that and allow yourself to cry, allow yourself to feel that, and not allow yourself to attach all these thoughts and reasonings to it, and not condemn yourself for it, that energy moves past so much quicker and has less power over you. And there's healthy ways to release anger too, right? And then when we're in a clear mind, because we've allowed that to go, then we can think clearly and really transmute what was actually going on. And that's where growth occurs. So it's funny how people are just like, don't be negative, don't be this, don't be that. But in reality, you're actually making it worse a lot of the time, right?
Absolutely.
And that's a big part of the self-love that people don't understand. It's like some people want to condemn you for being an emotional person, but it's like, no, it's you can't condemn it. You don't understand. Like there's so many people just don't understand that you can feel without it being something that others have to be afraid of, including yourself.
Yes, it can go both ways. I mean, there's other people who just feel an emotion and just run with it. The emotion becomes who they are and they've got no control. There's what you said a few things there that really inspired, fearing the emotion. If we fear the emotion, we're going to start explaining, we'll find excuses, we'll create blame, and we'll separate ourselves from that emotion as though it's not us. But what I learned for myself, the logic behind emotions, they are there for a reason. The emotions don't lie. The emotions speak the truth that's within us that we may not realize yet, but our minds our minds will, in states of fear, well, There's also science that shows what happens when we deny our emotions, particularly those with addictions. It's a pattern of denying the emotions, and if we restrain ourselves from lashing out at work or showing our emotions, well, then when it comes to our addictions, we really hit it. And I went through that in my life because, let me get to the point. These emotions that we don't like, that we're afraid of, or that we don't understand, we've got to feel them. So bring them in. Don't deny. The emotion is part of our experience. So bring it in. Bring it in and investigate it. Bring it in close and feel it. But remind yourself, with rage, with anger, sadness, all of this stuff, the unpleasant feelings, well, just like the pleasant, we get to control how long, how deeply the pain hurts emotionally. We choose how deep it hurts, and we choose how long it lasts. But if we never understand why we're hurting, right? We're denying our anger, we're denying our sadness. If we never allow ourselves to feel those feelings, we won't really understand why.
Mhm.
Once, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like diffusing the emotion over constantly trying to cover it up until it destroys us. Like we have to be willing to diffuse that and maybe even unravel some of the lies and fears that are keeping us in that emotion. Otherwise, if we can't handle it and we don't do that, we will keep going into things to try and avoid it and cover it up and distract ourselves and whatever, right? And then we don't really heal. We just kind of check out. But
So,
then there's also the part too though of where okay, we start to understand that, but then like what you're saying is then there's the self-parenting part where we parent ourselves. So like once you start to recognize a pattern, sometimes you can, once you diffuse that, you can start to realize that some of this is autopilot that's been trained into us, and we can start to discipline ourselves. So, mirror work is really good for that. I know that one worked for me. When I was having really bad panic attacks, I realized that there was this little girl in me that was constantly having these panic attacks. So I remember thinking to myself, wow, I need to love this part of me so that this part of me knows it's safe when it's starting to have a panic. So I would go in front of the mirror and I would talk to this little girl part of me because I was having blackouts all the time from the trauma because I used to pass out a lot from the abuse and just become unconscious. And so I was having this horrible problem in adulthood of getting racing hearts and then blacking out and losing consciousness in the middle of a shopping mall or wherever and always winding up in emergency. And I was like, this has to stop. Like I can't even live like this. So I started recognizing the symptoms. And so as soon as I'd start feeling shaking or dizzy or whatever, I started going to my mirror and talking to this little part of me and saying, wow, like thank you so much for doing the only thing you knew how to do um, as a little girl to protect me, to keep me safe, to survive the only way you know how. And I honor you and I thank you for that. But that is no longer serving you or serving me or helping me. And I promise you that I am a grown woman, that I have a voice now and I can speak up, that I can run, that I can get help. I would remind myself of who is safe around me and why it's not the same now and why I'm not the same now. And I just kept doing this, and the panic attacks started stopping, and the severe ones started going away, and I stopped having them for quite a few years after that. And and that's a part of reparenting ourselves instead of just letting ourselves go down these paths. It's really unwinding why it's happening so that we can begin to nurture ourselves, right?
amen. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience and the exercise. Self-love really is important. And the I've heard several different ideas and modalities, different methods for doing that, having the conversation, and the healing, the compassion, offering the child within the strength and the reassurance that was lacking, right? That wasn't offered by the other parent figures or whatever. Playing that role for ourselves sometimes. I mean, that's takes some maturity, takes some willingness.
And it takes knowing that most of us don't have. Like, I was so lucky because I actually got to talk to someone, a neurologist who helped me understand what was going on, and then something clicked for me that this was this past part of me that I needed to reintegrate into me so it wasn't taking over in certain situations and triggers. And so I actually came up with that on my own. And I mean, I've learned a lot more things since then that also help, um, especially because we don't just have wiring in our brains, but we get wiring in our muscle memory, in our nervous systems, and all these things are activated in certain triggers, and then our thoughts start going wild right back to where we were once upon a time. But we put it into modern day circumstances. So just most people are not even aware that that is going on or that there is anything they can do about it. To them, in that moment, that is just their reality, and no one else understands. But the truth is, they don't even understand.
Right. And this, Angeline, this is what I see as a problem with the world today, is that most people don't understand themselves, and we don't have common understandings of consciousness and trauma. You know, not everybody understands those things, unfortunately. Well, many people understand the experience of trauma, but I don't think as many people understand how to heal or how to help another person who's still carrying pains of trauma. This is where I've been so impressed with Dr. Gabor Mate, his methods of compassionate inquiry in trying to understand trauma and help others find that healing, that love and healing within. But it was listening to some of these other experts. I mean, why others haven't seen this, I don't know. But the world today, the economic, political structure, all of this corporate nonsense, it literally profits from trauma. We are the result. Our parents were more deceived and perhaps more confused than we are. I mean, we, Angeline, you and I specifically, we've been blessed to discover teachers and healers helping us learn the wisdom so that we could heal. This neurosciences, I'm serious, more people should be looking into that, because you don't have to be the expert, but you can understand and learn an awful lot from what has been learned.
And again, understanding produces grace, which allows us to love ourselves and self-love and then love others. And there is so many things out there. And the reality is that I've been realizing is that my generation, your generation, we've been lost. Like, we've just been, so many of us have gone through so much trauma, and then we're just left out in the world without anything. Like, I remember when my situation went to court, and my abusers admitted everything to court when I was a kid. I was just 8, and the only counseling I got was like some weird play therapy. I played with a dollhouse and drew with crayons, and then that was it. Like, I didn't even know what the heck I was doing in there. And then they just kind of put you out in the world and you're just like, there's no like, there
Yeah.
was no, our generation, there was no real understanding. And to top it off, a lot of us were desperate and went to the church, and then we were taught, oh, it's demons and evil and all that, right? And we all get freaked out and we're moved into new traumas and beliefs, and but we were desperate for answers. And I'm so glad that information is coming out there now, but it's like people like you and me and those who are starting to understand how we can actually apply this and do this are starting to put this out into people's awareness so they can go out and look up like the person you mentioned and look up all this stuff and begin to understand themselves, because understanding ourselves is again the beginning of grace and the beginning of our own self-love,
Well,
right?
understand this. Now, look, I mean, I think you're awesome, but understand this. And let me ask Jack, right? I want to ask you something. Okay, can you hear me still?
Yes.
I have to take
Would
this antacid pill. I
okay.
have to take. Do you know what Vistaril is?
Nope.
It's an antihistamine. It's like
Okay.
Benadryl.
All right.
It's to treat anxiety.
Okay.
Remember, I told you about my skin picking issue, right?
Yep.
So tell me, why would God do this? And then I'll take 2 aspirin. This is all in one take. Like I'm taking it right now. I'm on 2 different blood pressure medicines and a cholesterol.
Hmm.
I'd like to say that God doesn't do this, and you
Yep.
know, there's tools like when we have an overactive reaction in our body to something, sometimes that medication helps to dampen that reaction so that we can handle it better. But it again, it's pharmaceutical. It's a cover up until we can really go in and kind of heal that stuff of what's actually going on, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd offer to you, brother. What God has created is the opportunity of life. Through life, we've made a lot of choices. The world has taught us to make a lot of dumb choices, and we made a lot of dumb choices willingly. Life is cause and effect, right? What happened in the past brings up what we're dealing with today. So I wouldn't say God offered you the opportunity of the modern medicine today with the field of studies and the experts who saw you. They were able to identify some concerns, and they've offered
Am I
choice.
not a genetic defect? Like I shouldn't exist in the
Have you?
natural world.
Oh,
I'm
Nemesis.
a
Have
defect.
you? I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you heard of? Have you come across Bruce Lipton yet?
No, no. Who is this person?
Angeline, I assume you've come across Bruce Lipton.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Okay. He's a uh, well-known biologist, whatever his field is. His theories and what he presents is called epigenetics, and it's the explanations of how our environment works with the genes. So genes are a factor, as is the environment. The genes don't control or define you. Welcome, Aaron.
Hi guys, how's it going, everybody?
Feeling blessed,
We're
man.
just talking about how freaking worthless I am genetically.
Oh,
Oh, MC,
And,
you're not
and
worthless, man. Once again, you come so far, bro. And the
I
first time I
know.
heard you, you were spouting the most vicious vitriol, man, and you were actually talking about really existential ideas now, and that's more power to you, brother. More power to you. I give you. I can't
No,
support those other
look,
things you're
I'm not
saying, but
trying to self pity myself. I'm just making an observation based on
yeah,
a
no, and you're
theory.
allowed to, though, man. You're allowed to. I mean, we each of us
And
feel
in
what we feel.
this theory that I have, the reason I'm genetically defective is if we would have went back in time to a period to where there was no insulin available, I would be dead.
Yeah.
I would have died last year.
Which these are the gifts. These are the gifts of the day we live in. And one of the things I wanted to say is, and this is the way I kind of look at things, is, and Jack and I have had this discussion. I kind of want to hear his thought. I'd like to hear your thought on this too, MC, and how you feel about this, because I have come to believe that the imperfection of ourselves and the world around us is the gift that God gives us to overcome. It's individual to us, and these are our challenges, and sometimes they're completely unreasonable and unfair if you want to put it in human terms. But I think that in the spiritual term, they are the challenges we require to make ourselves more whole, if that's a thing. And no, I'd like to hear what people think about that, because I know that can be kind of well, it can be sound reductive, or it can sound kind of cruel. But I really think that it's not cruel, because you see most of us who go through these challenges find the beauty on the other side once we make it through. What do y'all think about that?
I'd like to talk to MC. MC, we're born in a broken world, and some of us come into worse places than others, and it does have an effect on our body. But our very willingness to want to live and figure it out, leads us to answers at different stages, and even if they're temporary. And if you're taking medications and stuff right now, and otherwise you wouldn't be alive and whatever, there was a will to figure out a way to be alive while you're figuring this out. And you're on your way. You're not a defect, and you're not supposed to be here, because otherwise you wouldn't have gotten to the solution that you're at right now, and still desiring to go forward and figure out more and learn more. And that's part of your unfolding experience, because that's going to be like, we're all here expanding consciousness and awareness, and that's part of your journey in unfolding that for all of us as well, not only yourself, right?
I believe that I can do great good in the world if I can only, well, basically, I have to get. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just trying to present the message in the best way possible. The message that Jack's sharing that's helping me. Because let me tell you, like, I was a rageaholic. I really was. And I think it took, like I was addicted to getting angry. And if you go back in the history of my YouTube, I got angry at a lot of people. There's a lot of videos out there of me getting angry at people. And the reason for that is because I'm just and my history's been documented. I've lived the past 4 years of my life on the internet because I'm trying to be a content creator. I'm trying to entertain people. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to be smart. I'm trying to live up to an unrealistic expectations placed forth by an audience that deserves it. They honestly, like, people need it. Well, deserve is not a good word. I feel like they need the message. So it's up to me to have the faith to present the message in the best way possible, so the message will spread. In other words, it's like I'm cooking a steak. I'm trying to cook it the best way that I can. And even though many people haven't tasted that steak, I want the people that do taste the steak to go tell another person, hey, I got the best steak of my life here. And then it spreads, multiplies. That's what I'm hoping to do with Jack in the live without fear.
Then we can just kind of ask ourselves in our mission, what are we doing that's working and what's not working? And then when we can say, why do I believe, or what are my beliefs behind thinking I need to do this in order to make it happen? And we can start to really examine why we do the things we do, and see if there is any false beliefs, or destructive beliefs, self-sabotaging beliefs, even um, in what we do. Like, even some people who think that like they have to be a comedian in every part of their life, and they've convinced themselves that it's good, right? This is an example. um if you really go in and be like, why? But why? Why do I feel like I always have to be a comedian? And do I feel safe to let being a comedian go? And what does that mean? And you can really dig down to see where their fears are in that, so that it can flow from authenticity and not a cover
Not
up.
to interrupt, but have you heard that phrase, tears of a clown? Perfect to describe it. The
Hmm.
tears of a clown. The clown will make everybody laugh, and his job is to be happy and funny. But then when the show's over, he goes back into his trailer, because actor, back to his acting trailer, and he just drinks liquor and just cries, and he hates life because
And that could go to anything. Why do I have to be angry? Why do I have to be sad? Why do I have to use so many words? We can go to examine any part of us and find out where that fear is, and see if we can't unravel some of that so that we can move from more authenticity, right?
yeah, praise. I like that message. I like the way it's presented. And Jack here has something on the screen that he's sharing with us. I don't know what exactly it is, but
This is a
Bruce Lipton. I've never heard of this dude.
yes.
This is a new experience for me.
I was going to
This
say those are some pretty great quotes there, Jack. Where'd you find these?
this guy he's in my opinion he's amazing. I think more people could benefit from learning from him. He's got several books, and he's on YouTube, does a lot of talking, but his field of science has been epigenetics, the power of our environment and our genetics, and tying that in to power of our minds.
Mm.
We're alive.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Jack. No, there's a direct connection there, so that's fascinating.
This is what I realized. We're alive at a time unlike others, with the opportunities of communication, and alive right now. There are so many amazing scientists, activists. There's just so many amazing things happening here on Earth. There's got to be someone we can become inspired by.
Another
Truth.
really good one is Joe Dispenza, and I like to bring him up because he highly appeals to men and the logic part of the brain and the scientific part of the brain, and because he is a man, and that's his goal, is really because the spiritual community really is dominated by these women, but he's really putting out the science behind it all so that we can grasp what is actually going on when we do this, right? And how we can transform every part of ourselves, our bodies, our wiring, everything. So that's another good one to look into, is Joe Dispenza.
Absolutely.
I'm familiar with him. He's got
We
some
can
very
become a new. Oh, is that what you're saying? We can become a new.
Yes.
Absolutely.
well, we get reborn every 7 years, 7 to 9 years. Our body sheds its complete self and becomes a new body. That's something that people forget about, that we actually do evolve as ourselves and become more ourselves, or more what we wish to become. And we literally shed our skin. We shed our being. All told, it all falls away, and we've become a new person about every 7 to 9 years. I actually, Jack, before I jump off, I just wanted to address something that came up in your commentary. It was kind of a little negative, but I want to say something about this that I love about this panel. I love about the people that are so diverse up here, wonderfully. And once again, MC, I will never stop giving you compliments for your growth, man. Never, ever, ever. I hope it annoys you at some point, because it is just unbelievable, man, how much you grow. And if you don't see it for yourself, I do. So just know that, and I appreciate you for that, for opening your heart that way.
Thank you.
But
Did you know that, and to you as well? But did you know that my name is also Aaron?
I did not know that. I love that.
Except mine's two A's. I have two A's.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, you can actually be Aaron. Everybody says it to me. It
There
doesn't
you
work.
go.
So
It's like, there you go, man. We have more in common than you think. Yeah.
yes, of course. These are the things. People don't give that credence, that we always can find something with people that we may have not I mean, like, I can tell the audience, 2 months ago, I wouldn't have gone, and I didn't. I avoided a panel you were on, MC. I'm gonna say I wouldn't have been on a panel with you.
Hey,
Now
hey,
I'm
the
happy to be on a
box
panel with
has
you.
something to say in the comments, and I want to bring this up like I brought on other panels. He said women and black people would have been perceived as worthless, but it's not about other people's perception of your worth. However, I challenge you, like, there's no such thing as black. There's no such thing as white. We're a range of melanin. It's
Yep.
been proven that African people can be white. If you just look it up, just a quick Google search. So look. There's no such thing as it. They made it up to divide us. That they just made it up, and people's like, what? And you're like, well, you know how black people look a certain way, but look. If you think black people look a certain way, just look at some like white people and the way they look. They look the same. They people looked exactly the same. Some people, it was just regardless of race. So it's just like it
Well,
doesn't even exist.
yeah,
And
and
I
people
would
get
like,
caught
it's
up in
like,
the visual, man. But
It's
before I jump off, because I actually do
microevolution.
have to go. I'm sorry, Angeline. I just wanted to leave this
yeah,
because it actually played. You just led right into it, MC. Thank you. I have this statement. I send it with every email. It's fortunum sejunctum esse defectum. Fortune unshared is a failure.
Mm.
And I believe that what we are sharing here, what MC is sharing here, what Angeline, what Jack is sharing here, is a metaphysical fortune. And I say that to the metaphysician specifically because, one, it's in Latin. Two, it's also a portion of an actual incantation. And then three, it's something that I hold dear to me because I believe if we can't all raise each other, find each other, see our own faults through others, and see others as earnest, capable, and loving, what are we sharing? So thank you, Jack. I'm sorry I have to run, but I love your show. I love everybody on the panel,
praise
and
be,
I love the audience. So
praise be.
praise be. Have a great day,
Thank you
y'all.
for coming. Thank you.
My pleasure, MC. Thank you for being here, man. Have a good day, Angeline. And thank you. By the way, Angeline, you're so fascinating. Bye.
Hey, respect. Thank you, Aaron.
Take care.
That was an interesting quote. I lost it though. A fortune unshared is something.
Failure, I think he said.
Yeah, it's along those lines, and I agree. We all have our own challenges, problems, but at the same time, we've got our own unique abilities and abundance, and we can share.
Yes.
How you doing, Uncle Fatty?
Awesome, buddy. Awesome show.
Hey,
Great show
Jack,
today.
that
Yeah,
dude, the box was saying that, like, if you read his comment, am I mistaken? Like, what is he trying to say? He's saying women and black people would have been perceived as worthless throughout history. That doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form they are now. Yeah, and I'm saying like people place worth. I'm saying that someone else placed their worth. Nobody placed worthlessness on me. I placed it on myself. Not because I'm worthless, because if it would have been in an age to where their insulin was not available, I would have been dead. So I would have been literally nothing, like in the ground, like my body. So I would have been worthless that way. That's way different than black people, which, like I said, it doesn't exist. Like black, what is black? Like, it doesn't exist. So it was just made up by a group of people to justify
right,
enslaving them. And that's it. Like it's just
right.
made up. It's a lie.
Unique, yes,
And it might be better to clarify and say that black or white doesn't exist, not just that. But it is. It's just melanin in the skin. Like we were talking about how we're made new every few years, like our cells turn over, our bodies turn over. When we are in certain parts of the world, our bodies adapt to live and survive in the places we do, which is why the darker skin is often in sunny places. And the paler skin is often in very little sun, places with little sun, and it becomes generational, and it's no different. It's just micro adaptations that we've all made to live in different parts of the world, but we're all the same human beings, right?
that's what he was saying. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, our
It's muscle memory.
relationships. What's that?
It's muscle memory, like Angeline was saying, that muscle memory is also neurological, and I resonate with what everything that's been said, especially what Nemesis was saying about being a rageaholic. I grew up. I spent 2/3 of my life as an absolute rageaholic, and it's the things that I resonate with Jack with the theme of recovery being serenity. And I'm telling you guys, the serenity prayer absolutely allowed me to view the world in a different way, that allowed me to help myself and make a new path and create use different muscles that have now become muscle memory. We get stuck in that pattern in that loop of shit, and we think that that's the only reality that there is. We can't even see past it. It's like road rage.
Well, something I think Angeline might have said earlier. We got, well, the topic of relationships in ourself, our true self, relationship in the Creator, with God, with life. We are enlightened beings. We are divinely created. And even if the past may not have appeared perfect, there was a perfection to the order in everything that happened. To remember we are enlightened, to remember that we are pure, to remember that the divine light is within us to share and offer to the world, we've simply got to remove the darkness, remove the judgment, remove the fears, remove the hate, and the rage. Here's what I found. Our anger, our rage, it can appear righteous. It's not healthy, right? We can feel those things, but we don't need to move with rage, and we don't need to respond or act with rage. But what is rage from? It's usually a fear. Our anger and our rage are usually fears. Fears of being insignificant, inadequate, helpless, hopeless. But our fear is also in relation, it's an inversion of a love. If we didn't care, we wouldn't have anger. If we didn't care, we wouldn't have rage. We'd be without emotion or regard. So the fact we feel something shows there's a relationship between us and whatever it is that we fear or rage against. And we might not even know what it is, because that's just what we were taught. We were taught rage. We were taught anger.
That's what I was taught.
It all starts somewhere, right? And when we don't unravel it, that can actually become an addiction because it releases hormones and adrenaline in the body that can actually become an addiction. And we can create wiring in our brains that have us autopilot go to that thing. So I love how you use the serenity prayer as a tool to almost rewire yourself, because you used it as a tool to put your autopilot in a different state until that started to lose momentum, and you were building momentum in what the serenity prayer was allowing you to do in letting go a little more. And so that was like a really wonderful thing that you figured out to do that worked for you.
It
Yes,
took years.
yes.
It took years of even of trying to get to the point where I even could know what that prayer was really even about. And it is about the knowing how we're raised. We're not responsible for how we're raised and the programming that we receive as children. We are responsible as adults to understand it and to accept it and to really almost embrace it to the point of ridiculousness so that we can understand it. And that's the serenity prayer of, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. To
Hey,
accept
I
the
was
things, right? That's
Yes. And I was just watching some content earlier, Fatty. I think your microphone cut out. Did your
how's that?
microphone cut out?
How's that?
You're there.
I can hear you now. But I
Okay.
was watching content earlier, like about a street preacher going to a pride parade, and there was a whole bunch of conflict, and I won't go into the details, but I think that the message has been misconstrued about what people want and what people expect. I think that whenever I see a cat, I appreciate that cat for being alive. I said, "Oh, look at that cute cat." And I want to feel that same appreciation I'm learning in my society to when I look at a human to look at them and be like, wow, there's a human, beautiful life. Like when I go into the weed store, I talk to the same people
Yep.
and I actually feel it in
Yeah.
my heart. I'm like,
Right.
look at
Hey,
this person. I hope they're
good.
well, and I try to project
Right.
that without being like overly emotional, just being like lighthearted and, hello, just being
Yep.
pleasant to be
This
around
is
like Jack wants
right.
me to be.
That's being a healthy human being. That's what we're supposed to be. We're not
And it's
supposed to
building
be
a new.
walking around filled with judgment and filled with rage and excuses. And here's something I learned. This is actually pretty insightful. A lot of people fall to addiction because they feel it solves a problem like anxiety or depression. A lot of time they just need someone in their life to make a healthier judgment, offer some help. What I see in our society, I see poverty and addiction. Both of those problems, the individuals are blamed, but the individuals are the victims. They're the victims of their choices and the choices of those around them. If we had a healthy society, people who started showing patterns of addiction or unhealthy patterns, we'd speak up and we'd say, hey, check yourself, man. What are you doing? You're better than this. And poverty, this world is truly who you know. And, if you don't have a support structure when times get a little tough, you can be ass out. This world is diseased. There should not be human beings sleeping in the streets while others are living these absolute lives of luxury, contributing nothing. It's like the anti-socialists are worried about freeloaders, yet I see,
Amen to
oh,
that.
look on YouTube, the life of the wealthy, man. Some of these punk kids, and and I'm not envious for me. I'm saddened by the state of our world because with just a little bit more community, a little bit more community, a little more compassion from the neighbors and families, if we supported each other a little more, addiction and poverty would not be this rampant.
My dad was an addict. So
It was too.
I grew up judging addicts, and I know in my first album I made a song dissing addicts, like fuck drug addicts and just going
Mm.
on about it, and it's out there, so like people can listen to it, and no matter what I like, even if I try to show compassion now, it's still out there. But at the same time, that's how my dad made me feel about it. He's like, damn, he's on drugs and he's acting crazy. He's tearing this family apart, and so
It's hard to
everybody
have
on drugs must be a no good bastard that I got to diss and fight, and that's what I really thought.
it's hard to have compassion for people when you know that they're making the choice. They're making the choice to drink, they're making the choice to do drugs, they're making the choice to cheat, they're making the choice to gamble. These choices that we're making, that people make, telling you, we are experiencing this is a spiritual experience, right? And there's a spiritual battle that's being conducted in our minds. And the deceived have raised the confused. It's up to each of us to overcome our confusion. And really, I know it is hard to have compassion for people who are addicts and abusive and just real sick in their minds. But that's an opportunity and a test. Someone said something earlier, and sorry to keep going, but the idea that this life may, we come in individually, and it's kind of check yourself. How are you going to do with what you've got? Are you going to let your obstacles hold you back, or are you going to let them? You're going to rise despite the challenges and the obstacles. Hey, oh, you. Welcome, Rose.
Hey, thank you, brother. I wanted to chime in on the anger thing. I think what made me angry is not having enough skills, not being able, because I grew up in a house where um, I had a stepfather who kind of took us in, and so it was like a lot of the stuff in the house was his, and he was always working all the time, and so like he'd come home and like, why are you touching this, and why are you doing this, and why are you doing that? And what it did was it kind of stopped me from like learning. It stopped me from like trying new things, and like that brought me rage. Not being able to defend myself when people picked on me. That brought me rage. That brought me anger. That brought me hatred towards my fellow brother and sister because I didn't have the tools I needed to get through life. Like as a young boy, it took me, you know, I would have fights with my friends because I knew like certain people I could beat up, right? And it was like, no, seriously, man, you
Yeah,
laugh, but it was like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so sad. I literally like would fight someone that I knew I could win against because I wanted people to just leave me the hell alone. And going through that process, I think that that's why I'm so like stuck on wanting to help the future generations, and I want to teach them skills, and I want to nurture that kind of thing because if you have access to tools that you need to get through life, I think you'll be live a happier life. You'll have less anger. You'll be able to control your emotions better. It doesn't mean you have to go to martial arts, but you should be able to defend yourself, from all the evils of the world.
I love what you said. That's something I realized myself. Our triggers, a lot of times our triggers are unexpressed emotions. The emotions have never been expressed and or properly the triggers are from unexpressed emotions that have not been realized, not been understood. I experienced something one time and it was profound. I stopped myself. I caught the trigger and interrupted myself, and it was awkward. It was awkward, and I excused myself, but I didn't react and make myself look like a dick.
Whether we know it or not, we're always trying to create balance. So like when my youngest was very, very small and always trumped by everybody and always overtalked by everybody and was always never making the choices and all that stuff, and you could see the frustration building in her that like she just wants to do it herself, or she just wants to be in charge, or she just wants to like have some kind of authority as well in the house, being the youngest of lots of kids and all that stuff, and being really small. And as a mom, she's lucky that I could see that and be like, hey, I have to actually create opportunities for her to be the boss and stuff like that so that she gets to do that as well. But not everybody gets that. And when something is out of balance, we find a way to create balance. And I love the pendulum example because often we're on one side of the pendulum that is way too far. And the only way to break out of that is to swing way too far to the other side until we learn lessons there. And then we find our happy middle, right? And even the world right now, that's what the earth, that's what Gaia does as well. Gaia will always find its balance out, and there's a shit show because we're out of balance, but that's because it's having to find its balance. And that's what we do too. Sometimes rage comes from a place of something is out of balance here. This is not okay. This is not working for me. And how do I go way over here to find balance? And then we go there, we experience something, and then we find our happy middle in the middle of that pendulum, right? If that makes any sense.
it's like saying that life is like a teeter totter.
No, you didn't. There's a first one I Sorry, guys. That was my wife. She's she's like what 5 months pregnant.
Ooh,
5 months pregnant.
congratulations.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations on that.
That old thing, like fat belly, he's like a foot tall. He's like a foot big. I don't know, a foot, 11 inches, I think. Yeah. And I just sit here and I just think that life's beautiful, and I think that we can appreciate people like ties in what Ange said and about the earth. Like we're put here on this earth. There's not a population problem, by the way. Uh, there's also not a resource problem either. As a lie. So there's no such thing as white and black. There's no research
Distribution
problem.
problems.
There's no global warming. What else is?
But
Yeah, everyone in
there's
America could fit into the size of Texas, so there's
there
definitely
is
not a
no balance
population.
either.
Yeah,
There is
I
no
just want to
balance
say
on it.
one thing on balance, if you don't mind. It's what Angeline was saying. I think part of that not being balanced is a lot of us turn to escapism, whether it's drugs, alcohol, video games, football,
Have you
entertainment,
heard of
stuff like
Jim
that.
Gale, Moose?
No, sir. But go ahead.
Jim Gale, Moose. Jack, have you heard of Jim Gale?
No.
Abundant food forest. Have you heard of it? A food forest? Jack, you know what I mean? Like turning your
That's a cool
lawn.
rock. Maybe Mama should get us paint.
What I'm
You
saying
know when it
is, you could turn your yard into a
No,
canopy. You can
no.
self-sustain. You can self-sustain yourself, Jack.
Right.
Shouldn't we be doing that?
only if we can find balance.
Like what Moose was saying, like we should be doing
Hurry,
that.
hurry.
Jim Gale.
I'll check them out. I think what there's a recovery term of teeter tottering, that life has a natural course of back and forth, back and forth. And I really resonate with that, Angeline, that we do that to ourselves on purpose sometimes, because being on a teeter totter isn't any fun with somebody that's our same size. Right. So we do tend to seek that little bit of rock and roll, and that, and as hard as it is for us to keep that short wave of even frequency, life has a tendency to want to do that. And our brains, the way we're wired, the way we're basically brought up to think about things, seems to be, act and react, and a lot of
But how
extremes
should
on
we
either
live
side.
on the day to day? Like what action should we take?
Remember what we were doing the other day, Nemesis, when we're triggered, like Jack was saying, and we recognize it in the moment in time, and we ask ourselves 3 feelings. How am I feeling about this situation?
No, and I mean, like, what should
I
we
know, right?
build for ourselves?
It's a real quick move that I do. I just, and it's like, by the time we break it down to ourselves, it's usually fear. It's a fear of something that we're going to be rejected. We're
No,
not going
Uncle
to be
Fatty.
accepted.
I'm saying, what should
What
we
do we do?
build? Like
We go on, and we
You're not
pre-plan our
listening to his question. You're answering something different. And
we pre-plan our steps.
I guess you're just going to keep going.
MC, were you the one asking about what do we do about people who are checking out?
What I'm saying is, there's actions that we could take through the day. Jack mentioned some of the actions is massage therapy. Okay, he was mentioning that the other night about massages. Remember?
Maybe I don't understand what you were asking either.
My thing is like
Yes,
the
you do.
actions, Jack. Jack's.
There's healthy and unhealthy ways to balance out. Is that kind of what you're saying? Like we can go to
No, I'm
one
saying like, what
extreme
should
or
we do? Like, how should we live? Like,
that's
what should we do?
definitely
Like
going to
with
be individual for every person. So I'm not sure.
yeah.
That's quite a pretty big,
Well,
broad
tell you what,
question.
yeah, and that's actually what I do want to talk about, but I think I'm ready to shut down. I think a couple hours has been a good run. Um, I think we've covered a lot of good topics today too. Lots of advice on healing and
Hmm.
and healing
Peace
relationship.
be with you, Jack.
Thank you, brother.
You go take care of yourself, Jack. Thank you. This was a really beautiful night, and you refresh there. Good night, guys.
Thank you, sis.
Angeline,
God
oh,
bless. You have a good night.
didn't mean to side rail anything there, Jack. I
Wasn't
think
you?
what the way I could answer Nemesis would be to say that, you know, the more cognitively and in the moment we can live, the more in the here and now, and try to pre-plan our steps forward, living in that cognitive mindset of just understanding how we're feeling at any moment in time, how we affect other people, is, at least for me, help me keep more of a balance and not such a heavy teeter-totter, and a tend to be on that pendulum of rage and always projecting into the future that the day is going to be so horrible, or you know, picking something out of tomorrow that's going to be bad about that day, and just always projecting that, you know, driving home and wondering what the kids are going to be up to type of attitude. And the more we can, at first forcibly and then naturally, just live and just know that everything's awesome, because it is. Everything is awesome and everybody's awesome. And Jack Talcott, you're awesome, and I appreciate it. Appreciate being able to be on your platform, because man, some very heavy stuff talked about today. Some very cool stuff that really resonates with me a lot. I would recommend Rob Dial, the Mindset Mentor. He does the Mindset Mentor podcast, just little 30-second, 1-minute clips in the mornings, and then he does like a daily YouTube drop. You know, really good stuff for men's recovery, and just in general, how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with fear, how fear is actually kind of the root of most of our reactions to of things in life, and most of our triggers are really rooted in fear. I know mine were 100%. By the time I broke down 3 feelings every time I was triggered, it all came down to fear of acceptance, fear of losing, fear of not being the clown, whatever it would be. It's nothing worse than fear. Most people live 100% nothing but fear and raging and just anticipating the horribleness of life. I got buddies that wake up in the morning in the construction industry and say to themselves first thing in the morning, I hate today. Today is going to suck, every single day. And they have a bad day every single day. And they can't understand why every day is so hard. We make it hard on ourselves, man. That serenity prayer, accepting what we can't change, having the courage to change what we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. It's a one-liner that has saved so many lives, and it's definitely saved mine, because I allowed it to, because I allowed it to work. I recognized it as a tool and not just a written down poem, right? The tools, I'm addicted to tools. I'm addicted to those one-liners of positivity, spread the love, be the light that attracts the moth. The real meaning of namaste, and seeing the light inside other people, and seeing the amazing changes and beautiful things that people do for themselves and for others every day. Not just recognizing that there's a lot of shitty stuff that people do, but there's so much more better stuff. There's so much more awesome stuff that people do for each other and for themselves. And Nemesis is making some huge steps right now, and can't commend that brother anymore. I mean, it's very cool to see. Very cool. Very cool. And we got some snow finally, and I got to go snowboarding today, so I'm super fucking happy. So have a great rest of the weekend, Jack.
You as well.
You got any
Thank
big
you.
plans? Get out and have yourself a nice meal or anything tonight?
I don't know.
No? Well, whatever you do, have fun.
Appreciate
Love
you.
you. Appreciate you, sir.
All right. Have a good night. Brothers and sisters, thank you for joining the panel, joining the stream. Appreciate everyone who joined, who tuned in. Everyone's got their wisdom to offer. You know, the question about what do we do? Well, that's what my purpose is, and I wish that's the question I hope more people start asking themselves. What do we do? But the mind is a confusing paradox because we'll ask ourselves the questions, and before waiting, before listening, we'll answer it. It happens in communication, it happens in dialogue, it happens in relationships. Today, the topic about relationships, relationships in life, relationships with God, and we did talk on that. That was really, I believe, in my experience, it's become the most important relationship, and I take it pretty seriously. I encourage others to, well, I encourage others to do as they believe, to live as they wish, as they want. But make sure you choose you're doing what you want and not what others told you to do. Make sure that the rage you feel, the anger you feel, make sure it's yours, not what someone else told you to do. Because, see, these memories of the past, being taught what is right and who is wrong, then seeing these examples of confused men and women throughout our world, all of the conditioning of the past has created us into who we are. And I'm encouraging everybody to use today, celebrate today as an opportunity to become more. And we become more by expanding our relationship, growing in our relationship of ourselves and here and now. What is here and now to you? If your here and now is just this small little corner and the only place I'm safe is in my bedroom with the doors locked and the blankets over my head, you know, if that's what you feel, that will become your reality, and you'll feel that way, that you can never be safe unless all the world aligns in the perfect conditions. I don't know. Brothers and sisters, I do enjoy this part of my day, the time sharing conversations and encouragement and inspiration. And I have hopes for a greater world. I have hopes for a more loving future for us all. Sincerely, I hope for us all to rise. I hope for us all to discover who we are right now. And we are part of right now. It's not just that little corner. It's not just that little room. It's not just that little town. It's not just that small family. We are a part of the world. And the world is happening today. So pay attention to what you involve yourself with. And, you know, thank you. Thank you sincerely again for joining us today. And do the notification thing, and I expect we shall return. Till next time, thank you again, sincerely. choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. God bless us all.